Dinuk An. I'm here to introduce our special guest, Mr. Dinuk Gunesekera, Assistant Manager in Brand Development and Sustainability at Keells. Today, we'll dive into a powerful conversation in branding, sustainability and evolving of ESG for modern businesses. So, to begin, sir, can you share with us a little bit of your journey from a marketer and now where you are? Especially, I want to know that what motivated you to interested on ESG?
Sure. So first and foremost, thank you to the Rajarata University for this opportunity. It's truly a pleasure to be here and share my expertise or rather my knowledge with all of you. In terms of my journey as a marketer and my involvement with ESG, I think I was lucky to join a company like Keells, which allowed me to follow both passions. Because by profession, I am a marketer. I am qualified as a marketer. However, even before joining Keells, I always had a passion for supporting communities and doing what I could for the environment. So I was extremely fortunate to be given a role right off the bat when I started my career at Keells to be a marketer who was also able to talk about ESG, right? And be involved in ESG, not just talk about it. So I think the concept of marketing and ESG go hand in hand, and that is why at Keells the concept of ESG also falls alongside the marketing department, because in ESG the critical component is of course what you do for the environment or stakeholders. But in doing so, there is an important part we play in communicating this, so that more than making people aware about what we do, it's about also almost giving out an invitation for others, other like-minded individuals, organizations, institutions to join, right? But also a sense of inspiration, right, for others who might be thinking of doing similar projects. They can take our learnings that they get through our communications and then implement it in even better ways than us in the future. So yeah, that's a bit about my experience.
Amazing. And when we move on to our topic, especially, can you explain what ESG means and why it's important for modern businesses?
Yes. So ESG stands for Environment, Social and Governance, or Environmental, Social and Governance. So if I begin with the last letter of that acronym, the governance aspect, governance is critical for any company because it ensures that we function as per a set ethical structure, a moral structure, so that from our team members to our other stakeholders, we deal with each of these parties in the right way, as per the values dictated by the relevant nation, by the relevant company, as well as the structure set by the organization itself. So governance plays a key role in ensuring that. But even more so than that, governance plays a part in ensuring that our stakeholders have visibility into what we do. So while running a company as per a certain structure and framework, as I mentioned earlier, it is also important that our stakeholders are made aware that they have access to how we do things. That is where governance plays a part through different committees that are set up, be it remuneration, be it grievance, and so on and so forth. These are just exemplary terms that I use, but there are formal terms that I use for these in a corporate context. But by setting up such committees and such frameworks and providing transparency, the company ensures that our stakeholders are taken on this journey with us. That is the G aspect of it. Then moving on to the environment, in summary, it refers to our interactions with the environment, right? So these could be proactive in a sense of even before something needs to be done, we take a proactive measure to benefit the environment. And it could also be reactive, like say for an example, it could be plastic pollution. That is something that has occurred. So what do we do in reaction to this to mitigate the harmful impact on the environment? So that would touch upon in a very brief sense the environmental aspect. Then the social aspect refers to how we deal with other stakeholders, and by stakeholders I do not mean it in a very narrow context. By stakeholders it refers to our own team members, our customers, in the context of Keells, our farmers, our suppliers, and basically everyone we come into contact with, even our communities, right, in which we have a business presence. All of these fall under the category of our stakeholders. So what can we do to support them in terms of, is it livelihood development, is it skill enhancement, is it providing of infrastructure, what is the need, does it make sense for us? So in the context of not just the social aspect but even the environment, when taking these decisions, does it make sense for the business? Do the communities or does the environment need this? And do we have the resources? And if we don't have the resources, how do we find the resources, or how do we manage the resources we have? So by looking at it holistically, ESG plays a massive role in ensuring a company is not only focused on the profit aspect, but also the people and planet aspect.
As you mentioned, governments play a major role in ensuring. So, do they have any measures or do they have any criteria for that?
In terms of governance criteria?
Yeah.
Yes. So, for an example, a simple example of governance that Keells report on is, and it is found in the CCS annual report that is published once a year. It would be remuneration, right? It could be grievance, right? So there are different committees that are set up to ensure, for example, that people are paid fairly, right? There are committees to ensure that grievances are handled in a transparent way and that there is a proper process of escalation. So there are different committees for different such points that are set up to ensure that the company works with transparency and that stakeholders have visibility.
Amazing, sir. Thank you. And I want to know that Keells has a perfect ESG plan. Then what motivated Keells to its ESG journey?
Okay, so I do not think Keells have, thank you for that compliment, but I do not think we have a perfect plan, but at Keells we believe this is a journey, right? So on a journey there are ups, there are downs, and we continue to learn and we iterate our plan and we continue to grow it based on the needs of our consumers and needs of the environment and so on. So I think your second question was how did we come up with the plan? Yes. So, like I mentioned in a previous answer, it's about evaluating to understand does first of all, does the environment or the relevant stakeholder group need this? Right? Because in our heads we can conceptualize it that this is a need, that is a need, that is a need. We can come up with a lot of issues with society, right? But then we have to find out, does society actually need it? Right? We have to validate, we have to see whether it's a need. And then, yes, moving on, after we establish that there is a need, out of the many needs, what can we address as a company? What makes most sense for us to address as a company? Right? So, like a company can attempt to solve a million issues, but it doesn't make sense because there are finite resources. So then a company has to understand what makes most sense for me as a company to engage in. A good example of this is our food redistribution program that I spoke of in our sessions, where we redistribute excess vegetables and foods to people in need. That makes complete sense for us being a retailer involved in the food space, right? Even our preschool meal program makes sense for us. Our farmer development program makes sense for us. Why? Because we engage with these communities. So therefore, then we know, okay, this makes sense for us as a business, as a need, it makes sense for us as a business. Then how do we go about bringing in our own, like how do we go about implementing this project in a way that is innovative, or like we add something new, maybe to an existing concept, using the limited resources we have. How best to do that? So that is how Keells approach our ESG strategy, and it's an iterative process, and we are grateful for the journey we've been on, and we are looking forward to what's ahead.
Okay, then when we talk about sustainability, what does Keells integrate sustainability into brand development strategies?
Right. How does Keells integrate sustainability into brand development strategies? Okay, that's a very interesting question. So, at the end of the day, a brand is defined in many ways based on its actual monetary value, based on revenue and profits, right? It's defined based on market share, but to our customers or consumers or stakeholders, a brand is how they, or rather brand equity is how they perceive a brand. So I told, like, there are different ways to define and provide brand value, right? So at Keells we believe that sustainability and brand development go hand in hand, and I'll give you a good example of it. By, for an example, implementing projects that support our farmers, right? There is a sustainability component, right? But also, when we work with our farmers, by enhancing their livelihood, we are able to gain better returns from them, right? So, and then the amount of crops that are wasted, if they have the right technical expertise and infrastructural capacity, then their level of productivity increases, right? It brings a benefit to us as Keells and a benefit to them, because they produce better crops, right? At a more sustainable rate. So you can see there's a benefit to us, there's a benefit to the stakeholder, but also when we now go and share the knowledge of this project with others through various platforms, then we are sharing that knowledge, but also enhancing our brand equity. When customers and other stakeholders get to know about this, it creates that positive perception. Even though that's not the end goal, we actually want to support our farmers and have a mutually beneficial relationship. As a byproduct of that, our brand also develops. So that's an example of how it integrates.
And what are some key environmental initiatives that Keells has undertaken?
Okay. There are several, but I'll just touch on a few. One such example is solar panels at 112 of our stores that helps us gain the benefit of renewable energy, right? And reduces our impact on the environment by reducing our carbon footprint in a sense. Also our food redistribution program, where I mentioned over 200,000 kilograms of excess fresh produce we give out to people in need, right? Then our perfectly imperfect produce initiative, rather perfectly imperfect vegetables initiative, that allows us to reduce by up to 25% the returns that we returns in terms of products of lower quality or unsatisfactory quality that we have to give back to our farmers as returns. We reduced it by up to 20% or 25%, and then we are able to take those perfectly imperfect vegetables and sell it in our stores at a cost benefit to the customer as well, right? So even though these products, and we change social perception of, okay, if a product looks a bit disfigured or misshapen, then it's bad. No, it's not bad, it's even nutritious, right? So there's that overall component that we bring into that perfectly imperfect vegetables project. Then our plastic reduction initiatives are bringing compostable bags that are fruit and vegetable efficient meat counters, reducing over 4 million plastic bags from reaching landfills. So yes, the list goes on. So these are just a few of the many projects that we do to reduce our impact on the environment. And like I mentioned earlier, it is an iterative journey. We are not perfect. I am not saying that we got it all right and we are the experts in this field. Far from it. We continue to learn from our peers and grow. because yes, it is always a journey.
Before moving to next, I really appreciate your project, sir. And next, in what ways does Keells support local community as a part of its social responsibility?
Right. So once again, we do quite a few projects, but I'll just maybe touch on one or two. One key project that we do is the preschool meal program, a nutritious tomorrow for our little ones. So the concept is simple. We select preschools, deserving preschools from communities in which Keells have business presence with the support of staff over there, and we set up a community kitchen, and we get the support of parents to prepare meals for the preschool children, and we provide funding for up to 6 months. How the funding is generated is Keells ourselves invest, but we also allow our customers to invest in this project or other contribute towards this project by purchasing a rupees 850 meal card, which contributes 5 meals for a child or 1 meal for 5 children, either way you get it. And then we also ensure to set up a community garden in each of these locations, so that then even after 6 months when we move out, there is that sustainable mark that we left, and getting kids also to get into the concept of home gardening, taking care of plants and so on and so forth, and then that's a level of produce that they can actually gain from this community garden as well. And it is also about uniting those communities, because these are communities that might have the resources on hand, but what Sargo and Keells do is we go to these communities, unite them and tell them, hey, there is a way in which you can source ingredients and prepare meals that are nutritious and cost effective. So that sort of knowledge sharing as well as leaving those tangible marks is one of the key projects from the community development perspective, that Keells engage in. But also I mentioned farmer development is also community development in a sense, because by empowering these farmers, they are supporting the communities in an indirect way. So there are other projects as well, but in the interest of time, these are two.
I think after meeting you made up me to think of Keells. It is more than a supermarket. Thank you so much for this, sir. And what would you give as advices as a marketer or as an entrepreneur and for new business starters? What are the advices for them regarding to ESG and branding and sustainability?
So your question is, what advice would I give new businesses in terms of ESG?
New businesses and for us as marketers.
Right. So I think I'll answer it in 2 sections. So I'm in no level of expertise to advise new businesses, and we are still on a journey. But if I have to share just learning along the way, it's always tougher for new businesses to actively engage in ESG, because there's always an investment component that goes in, and when sometimes resources are limited, you have to prioritize. But having said that, if a new business begins their journey with ESG as part of their framework, what I realized is there are companies that have been able to find ways to support communities even with limited resources. So I think it's not always about how much resources you have, but utilizing the limited resources, even in a small way, to support either the environment or the community or both, because there is always being aside the brand equity component of it and people thinking about the business, there's always that satisfaction that you get by giving something back to the community and the environment, and that is a good segue into my advice to young marketers, regardless of not only young marketers but professionals in general. I think ESG goes beyond the concept, and it sort of resonates more at a human level. As humans, what can we do for our environment and for our communities? Because a part of being human is that. Right? We put on this earth to make a difference. So regardless of your profession, what can we do to give back? So if we look at life in that lens, then regardless of limitations in terms of time, skill or resource, we will find ways to contribute. So if we take that as something that we should be doing rather than an optional task, we will find ways, and by us finding ways, we will grow as better individuals, we will grow into our better individuals, but we will also gain that amazing feeling of being able to make an impact, even in the life of one person, and that feels really good.
Thank you so much, sir. I think if I have much more time, I have to learn from you, but time is limited, sir. So thank you so much for being with us. We are glad to hear as project marketers. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. All the best to all.